and this is one that really got me. I went on a tour here, you know, and they were telling about the guys drowning in the blue hole and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, well, should be some records of that somewhere. So I'm on this thing called newspapers.com. It's another subscription service. But you can get in there and it has a search engine at the top. And you can put in things like Blue Hole, Lost River, Mill Cave, Cave Mill, all kinds of combinations, and come up with these newspapers that has a story about that. Well, I've came up with 4 different newspapers, and they were all from 1897, all at the same time. And the first one is a Philadelphia paper, and tells about these guys drowning in the blue hole. Well, within a month, these other newspapers had picked up that same story. One of them was Hartford, Kentucky newspaper. One was a New York newspaper. But they've changed it around a little bit. They've added more guys or different things about it, but nobody gave a detail of who these guys were, you know, names, regiments, anything like that. They just drowned in the blue hole. So my first question was, what were they doing in the blue hole to start with? This was a swimming area. I've got on how many diaries talk about these guys swimming in the blue hole. They're washing their clothes in there, feeding their horses in there, and all kinds of stuff. So I know they were in the blue hole, swimming and stuff like that. But as far as 3 of them dying in there, you know, the story you tell about one of them's drowning and the other jumped in to help him and all 3 of them's gone and all that kind of stuff. Well, I've gone through there and I actually went through every regiment looking for soldiers that drowned. I came up with 11 soldiers that actually drowned here in Bowling Green. And then I started looking at diaries and thinking, surely in a diary they're telling about one of their teammates drowning or whatever, you know. And I did come up with somebody here I think is going to answer this question in a minute. One guy, not 3. Okay. I'm sorry this thing's not showing up. It's called the Suck Hole was a quiet place and all that kind of stuff. This is out of one of the newspapers. All right. Chelsea Mooresman, 59th Illinois, in his entry on September the 15th, 1862, writes, this spring was in a sinkhole 60 feet below the surface. The hole was 60 yards long and 40 yards wide. 2 mules and a Negro were taken under the ground and not seen again. That's what he put in his diary. And he's here on September the 15th. Another one, Alan Fanstock, 86 Illinois, says, we passed Lost River a few miles from Bowling Green. To Curiosity, it passes under the ground 40 feet to the surface. There was a horse that fell in and swept out of sight, never to be seen again. So these guys are putting this thing in their diary. But I'm going by September the 15th. This guy was here on September the 15th, and he's in the 59th Illinois. I started looking at 59th Illinois, and I think, well, somebody else must be telling this story in the 59th Illinois also, which I didn't find. But anyway, here's another one. September the 14th, left camp at 2 o'clock, reached Bowling Green before noon. 1 man and 4 mules drowned in Kansas River. So they're taking all these little things and putting them together and making a bigger story out of it. Okay, where am I? Whoop. Sorry. I've looked up these guys' records, you know, about ones that drowned and so on. Let's see. Typhoid drowned, this guy here drowned. So anyway, I've come up with all these different combinations. That's in that book too, by the way, if we get into it deeper, of the ones that drowned. So I don't know, this is the one I was telling you about, the National Cemetery Ledger book. There's one for Cave Hill Cemetery in Louisville too. But it lists all the soldiers, where they came from. Like it'll say, Bowling Green, 1,200 of them. They'll say out at Oakland 5 or whatever, you know, and they've got different locations, but they don't have a Lost River in that bunch. Okay, where am I? There's another guy that drowned. This William Howard, 70th Indiana, drowned September the 16th. Well, that sort of eliminates him because this other guy on September 15th is already telling about this guy drowning. So it must have happened that day or before. So anyway, it's a little mystery that you can, I hope you all will get into this and somebody figure all this out later. Okay, here's one. This is the one that I actually thought was the one, because it says James W. Howard. On his casualty sheet, he is listed as belonging to 17th Indiana Infantry. On the Civil War Research Database, it says he drowned on 9/14/62 in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So if he actually drowned on the 14th, that could be him, because on this other guy's diary, the 15th, you know, it tells about a guy drowning here. So that's who I'm thinking it's going to be. And it says his records from National Archives from the company muster rolls, he drowned while bathing in Barren River. But you got to remember, like in the Hibbs diary here, they think this is part of Barren River here. They think it's a tributary. So several of these diaries are going to call it Barren River because it really doesn't have a name out here, you know, what the water is. So if that is true on his records, he did drown in Bowling Green on Barren River on September 14th. He was buried in the Bowling Green City Cemetery on September the 16th. This grave was removed to the National Cemetery in Nashville, and this is section his grave down there. There were 11 other soldiers I have found that drowned in Bowling Green during this time, but I couldn't find any two that drowned on the same date. So the story about 3 of them drowning in there, I don't buy that at all. But like I said, these newspapers, they exaggerate. You can read the things in there from one newspaper and then read the next newspaper and they've added something else to it, you know. But anyway, all these newspapers came out in 1897 telling about the drowning and so on. Here's your James Howard thing. I pulled this off the internet. Must have been 70th Indiana. He was drowned on 9/14 at Bowling Green. So I'm pretty sure that's the guy that drowned down here. Pretty sure. Some more of his records. It says he drowned while bathing in Barren River, near Bowling Green. What do you think? Think it's him?